My guest today is actor James Pickens Jr., who many of you know as Dr. Richard Webber on 22 seasons on the hit series Grey's Anatomy. And he is the
All right.
co-executive producer on the series, which continues its amazing run, winning Screen Actor Guild Awards, multiple People's Choice Awards, and close to his heart, the NAACP Image Award. Now,
Yeah.
James stars in the emotional short film Albert's Flower, a powerfully emotional short film. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome actor and executive producer James Pickens Jr. to the show. Welcome.
Thank, thank you, Ward. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being on. Appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome. Well, I had the honor to watch your short film, Albert's Flower. It is a emotionally deep story. Why has this story resonated with you?
It for me, and I think for a lot of people, it's how it tells a story on how we deal with trauma in our lives or the past, which is never the past. The past is never dead. And so I like to call it a piece of chamber music. These two people come together and by a set of circumstances, and they they basically help one another to navigate some matters of the heart, some trauma, and this man comes back to his old home to try and right some wrongs, okay, and where a reckoning has long been overdue, and within that, find himself again, and the now present owner of this home, the Greta character, played by the wonderful actress Ailish Cahill, and in her own way helps to facilitate him to make this resolution. And it just spoke to me as a wonderful small piece for actors. The script had come to me by the director, Jim Glossman, who also directed a play I did back 2 years ago back east. And he had come with to me with, pardon me, with this. It was a play originally, and he said, "Jim, would you take a look at this?" And his thought was he wanted to use it as a fundraising vehicle to help some of those smaller regional houses that had been really hit hard by the COVID. I had done something similar to that early on in the pandemic with some various celebrities and stuff who we would take original stories or pieces from a script or whatever. They would record them and they would splice them together and use them as these fundraising vehicles. So he said, Jim, take a look at this and see what you think. It was only about 12, 13 pages long. So I took a look at it, and after about the fifth, fourth or fifth page in, I said, this is a film. This isn't a play. I mean, it can be a play, but I said, this is a film. And so when Jim, our director, said, what you really think? So I said, yeah. I said, let me produce it. And so we went about the process of making it come to happen. We had a great line producer and pardon me, and Erenice Rabis. She put together a great team, and we shot it in one day. I think we started at 7 in the morning, and by 5 o'clock that evening, we were done. And as the editing process played out, and the more and more we looked at this film, this little chamber piece, we said, I think we really have something here. And so then Erenice said, let's see if we can get it into some festivals. And so we started that strategy, and the Montclair Film Festival admitted us, and we're very, very excited and proud to be a part of it. The festival is very prestigious. Actually, the festival starts tomorrow, the 17th, and runs through the 26th. And we're part of a short film block. We debuted on 22nd, and then they screen it again on the 25th. And
Well,
we're
I
very proud to be a part of it.
well, James, I love strong, emotional, character-driven short films, and this falls into that category
But thank you
perfectly.
so much. Thank
You
you.
know, many people allow their past to dictate their
Mhm.
future,
Uh-huh.
and some can get past the dark moments growing up, and others can't. This film shows that your character, Albert,
Mhm.
does to confront his past, but would you say that it was his sister's passing that moved him to confront his past childhood trauma?
I would say she was a vehicle, absolutely, in a lot of ways. You know, we did the film you see is pretty much how it was on the page. Jim, myself, and Ailish did a little bit of adapting, but basically what's on the page is what you see there. We had some ideas in terms of backstory, and yeah, a lot of that vehicle was fueled by his sister's passing. We don't elaborate on what caused her passing, but we threw some ideas out there that we thought would help to generate some forward momentum in terms of the story. But yeah, it was Albert's coming to coming to resolve some things that had not been resolved around him, but also around his sister and around that place that generated so many memories for him.
Well, your character Albert carried a lot of uncomfortable truths from growing up in that house, but he
Yeah,
wanted to make sure that he remembered some of the good times too. Uh,
absolutely.
how does finding a bit of a silver lining help one to overcome or embrace the hurts of the past?
Yeah, well, they're all part of this journey we call life, and you hopefully that you can integrate both of them, the joys and the pains. And there were a lot of there were painful moments in that house for him, but there are also some that were very joyous for him, and he wanted to make sure that the character of Greta, who now is the present owner of the house, knew that. Say there were memories that are very fond for him, and that also I think helped him to to take this journey and put one foot in front of the other because of those good memories, as well as the ones that were not so good, that were somewhat painful.
Yeah, the character Greta, I mean, she didn't know what to think of Albert's presence in the front of her house. Was he
Yeah.
a threat? Was he sane? Was he
Yes.
stable?
Yes.
As an audience member, I felt all of her emotions in the interactions she had with
Hmm.
Albert. I
Yeah.
feel the most important element of her presence was her unknowing ability to allow Albert to talk because it was her
Yeah.
ability to stand there and listen, which was a quiet power that allowed Albert to find healing from his past. Do you agree?
I agree totally. Yeah, you put it very succinctly, and I can credit a lot of that to Ailish's portrayal. She's an amazing actress, and she said so much without saying a word. I mean, just listening or looking at her face, how she listened to Albert, the interaction that they would have verbally, but it was the nonverbal interaction that they had. I think that spoke so loudly in this film. And I think she gave him, whether she knew it or not, she gave him permission to go ahead and play out the rest of this so that he could put an end to it, or at least what we think is an end. And she was just masterful in doing that. I was so happy to share the screen with her and share this process.
Both of you in this film give stellar
Thank you
performances.
very much. Thank you.
And at the end, when Albert was walking away from
Hmm.
Greta and
Hmm.
towards Day Day, the
Uh-huh.
gentleman down the street, kind
Yes.
of polishing his red Trans Am,
Yes. Yes.
I love how the film ends because it ends with an open interpretation of
Yes.
confronting one's past head on, but
Yes.
you leave the audience and we wonder, will Albert forgive Day Day? But how did you interpret the ending?
You know what? I think that's what was so wonderful about this piece, and that Peter Pietrovsky, who wrote it, did such a masterful job. And I want to. We haven't had a chance to engage each other in person yet, so hopefully I'll see him at the festival. How much of this was influenced by his past? But to answer your question, I like the fact that it's open ended. Does he go there to confront data in a way that a lot of folks would want him to? Or like you said, does he go there and basically forgive his transgressions of the past? We don't know. I think that's a wonderful vehicle to leave the audience with as Albert starts to walk toward Day Day. We don't know, and I didn't know. And that was I think the wonderful thing about it. I didn't know what Albert was going to do, and it begs for maybe a longer version of the film. Who knows? But yeah, I think that was a wonderful piece of writing on Peter's part.
Yeah, in my own mind, James, I was thinking as your character was walking towards Day Day. I kept thinking, okay, is he going to punch him in the face, or is he going to remind him of the
Yeah,
trauma that he
yeah,
caused him,
yeah,
and then maybe open up the door to allow Day Day to explain?
yeah,
Maybe he has gone through some things over the
yeah,
decades to finally
yeah,
go, I was wrong, and then see Albert forgive. So
yeah.
I love that the open ended interpretation of this film.
Yeah,
And with
yeah.
this film coming to certain
Mhm.
theaters, what would you like the audience who see it take away from it?
Uh, Take away you that yeah, the past is not the past, but you can move on. You can move on for the things from the things in your life that were painful, and maybe even find some healing within that. And that no one really travels these roads alone. We all have a story to tell, and we can tell them in whatever way we tell them. And I hope that the audiences take that away from this film, that their voice is not a singular one. That
Oh,
these voices ring true in many different ways.
well, are we going to see James Pickens Jr. in more short films?
I don't know. It depends on what comes down the pike. I was very fortunate that this came along when it did, and I was able to be a part of it. Those kind of things come along very rarely, and it was a great way to help kind of launch our company, my production company, Bay Springs Productions. But it was just a wonderful piece, and I probably would be a good play as well. I mean, that's what it was originally written as. But I just thought it was there was so much landscape to be told within a film, and but do it in a compressed way, and tell the story in a way that, yeah, with a play you wouldn't have to sit for an hour and a half or 2 hours to see how it plays out. We can see it in a condensed version, and one that only cinema can tell, which is the great thing about it. And I thought this thing really lent itself to filmmaking.
I think this film, for a lot of people, when they see it, will open up the channel for healing, for understanding,
Yes.
and maybe not hold on to the things of the past that have
Yeah.
maybe destroyed their future, and hopefully let it go, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, I'm very proud to be a part of this film. It's a wonderful piece, and I hope the audiences will react the way that I did from reading it.
Well, I know they will. And ladies and gentlemen, Albert's Flower is an intimate and moving short film. Drawn back to his childhood home, a man returns to confront the weight of his past and finally turn the page on a long buried pain. What do we do with what do we do about the maddening, the ungainly, exhausting, and sometimes ridiculous baggage we carry around with us? Those
Yeah,
hurts, and with every step we take, and at the same time makes us, for good and bad and in between, who we actually are. Albert's Flower is a taught. It's a heartfelt journey into a present relentlessly haunted by the past and the courage required to face uncomfortable, unexpected truths about who we are and where we come from. Those flowers that go unattended in our lives. James Pickens Jr.'s and Ayla Cahill give stellar performances, and you feel each character's emotions as their cinematic synergy radiates on screen. This is a must-see short film. And James, I want to thank you so much for giving me the honor to not only watch it, but to talk to you about it today.
thank you so much, Ward. I really appreciate it. And I have to ask you this question before we get off this call. Were you named after the actor?
Well, actually not, but my father's name was Howard. They took the HO off. I was named Ward Bond, and when I was 8 years old, I saw my name in the TV guide, and I know that Ward Bond's star on the Walk of Fame sits right in front of Mann's Chinese Theater. So who knew that the namesake I would end up in television as well as working in film? But hey, I welcome it.
There you go. Very good.
Well,
Appreciate it.
thank you, James. And ladies and gentlemen,
Thank
you can
you.
catch all of the Bond on Cinema interviews at bondoncinema.com. Check out our Prime show, our YouTube channel, and yes, you can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, and more. And remember, you're either going to see me at the movies or on the red carpet.